Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Dagger with Business 901. I like to use the term EDCA, Explore, Do, Check, Act. I learned that from Graham Hill to designate the explore aspect of lean. I view it as more of a design type thinking content that allows for that collaborative learning cycles with a customer. Most of us design sales and marketing actions around how we think, not how the customer thinks. We have this idea that we know what is right. What I will say is that most of the time, if we think that way, we're probably wrong. Or another way of putting it, we need to move away from thinking that we are the expert or the smartest person in the room. Instead, move towards the thinking that the room is the smartest person. When thinking about implementing EDCA in sales, I believe we have to change our mindset similar to that thinking process I outlined in a previous blog post, old style thinking of plan do. It is difficult for sales teams to not only shift from PDCA to EDCA, but to manage the process of EDCA in the first place. Sales needs to understand that at some point, the discovery that takes place in exploration must move from the act of exploration and is simulated into operational practices. Just as we would always blame quality people with the habit of paralysis from analysis, we will often find sales either bringing in half-baked ideas or always waiting for one more piece of data or report. We need a way to start the collaborative process between customers and our organization. In my exploration of this subject, I found some excellent advice from Deborah Ancona and Henrik Bressman, authors of the book X Teams. In it, they said, other teams err by forgetting about exploration altogether and move immediately into the implementation and action of exploitation. The drive to get things done in these cases is so intense that teams just start with the solution that first comes to mind. Management can sometimes unknowingly emphasize this solution mindedness by pushing the team to make tough targets quickly. The trouble here is that members may be moving quickly in the wrong direction or fail to think outside the box. Finally, some teams never want to let go of their product. No one is interested in exportation. No one takes responsibility for easing the product out of the team and into the rest of the organization. Without this transfer of the enthusiasm and ownership, team members may find their work rejected or simply ignored. So first, teams need to organize themselves to examine the world around them, think in new directions, and consider multiple possible options. Exploration, right? But then they must choose one direction and organize themselves for effective action and implementation, which is exploitation. Finally, teams need to take one last step and shift their focus again towards ensuring that their work has traction in the larger part of the organization. Exportation. The authors promoted the use of explore, exploit, export. I think sales must find a balance between those three areas. Sort of an EQ DCA approach, maybe. I think one more tidbit from the book is pretty well grounded. The point is that team members need to be able to shift away from an emphasis on exploration, thoroughly understanding the product, process, opportunity, or task that the team has undertaken. They need to be able to move on to exploitation using the information from exploration to innovate and actually make their dreams and ideas into something real. And finally, to exportation, in which they transfer team member expertise and enthusiasm to others who will continue the work of the team, bringing the team's product into the organization and possibly the marketplace. Each of these different phases require a different focus and hence different amounts and kinds of team activity. When most people think about lean, they view lean only from a problem-solving perspective. That 5 whys stuff. In that context, a lean salesperson would assume that role of an expert, solving a problem for someone. When I apply lean to sales and marketing, I view lean as a knowledge-building exercise. It is the deeper understanding of the customer business that we achieve through the methods of PDCA and specifically EDCA. You may be thinking, why don't we just use EDCA for the entire sales process? Well, my idea is that EDCA really does define the process, but EDCA creates an iterative loop within the process. This way we involve teams internally and externally in a much more collaborative way. What is happening in the world of sales is that we are on the edge, or maybe already there, of a collaborative way of selling. We no longer can just sell to a customer. We have to understand our customer's business and our customer's business. And the only way I believe that is possible is if we're participating at the point of use of our product or service and using a process to get the message in, which that process happens to be EDCA. Thank you. Again, this is Joe Dagger with Business 901.